You know, our personal data is, well, it's everywhere these days. But have you ever stopped to think about what happens when it's not protected? That's exactly what we're diving into today. We're going to break down India's brand new Digital Personal Data Protection Act, or the DPDP Act, and this powerful new board it's setting up to keep our information safe.
I mean, really think about it for a second. Every app you use, everything you buy online, you're constantly sharing little bits of yourself. But if that data gets breached, who's actually there to hold the big companies accountable?
Well, that's where the new Data Protection Board of India comes in. You can basically think of it as a new digital referee whose whole job is to enforce the rules of the game and, protect your data rights.
All right, so what can this new referee actually do? Let's get into the board's key powers. And maybe more importantly, what does it take to get them to blow the whistle and start an official inquiry in the first place?
So, you might be wondering, how does an inquiry even kick off? The thing is, the board doesn't just start investigating on its own. An official inquiry gets triggered in one of four main ways. Either a company has to report a data breach itself, or a user, someone just like you, files a complaint. The government can also refer a case, or a court can actually order an inquiry. So you see, there are multiple paths to make sure companies are held accountable.
And listen, when the board does get involved, it has some serious authority. The law itself gives it this really broad power to, and I'm quoting here, issue such directions as it may consider necessary. Now, what that really means is the board isn't just making polite suggestions. Its orders are binding and they have to be followed.
Okay, so an inquiry has been triggered. What happens next? Let's walk through the actual procedure, right from that initial complaint all the way to the final decision. The first thing you really need to know is that this board is built for the 21st century. It's digital by design. It's meant to be a digital office, which means the whole shebang, from filing your complaint to getting the final order, is supposed to happen online. The big idea here is to make it super accessible and, of course, really efficient.
And hey, just because it's digital doesn't mean it's a pushover. Not at all. During an inquiry, the board basically has the powers of a civil court. We're talking about the power to summon people for questioning, demand that companies produce documents, inspect any data or company registers, and even take evidence under oath. These are some pretty serious tools for digging in and getting to the truth of what happened.
There's also a really important legal safeguard built right into the process. The board is required to follow what's called the principles of natural justice. Now, that might sound a bit technical, but in simple terms, it's just the basic rule of fairness. It means everybody gets a fair hearing. Both the complainant and the company get to present their side of the story before any decision is made. It's about ensuring a level playing field.
All right, so all the evidence has been looked at. Both sides have had their say, and the inquiry is wrapping up. So what are the possible outcomes here? What happens once the board makes its final call?
It really boils down to two main possibilities. On one hand, if the board looks at everything and decides there just isn't enough evidence to move forward, it'll close the case and record its reasons why. But on the other hand, if a major breach is confirmed, the board can bring down the hammer and impose a monetary penalty. And these fines aren't just a slap on the wrist. They can be massive, potentially running into hundreds of crores of rupees, depending on just how bad the breach was.
But the board's decision isn't necessarily the end of the road. Any person, or any company for that matter, who disagrees with the order has the right to appeal. They can take their case to the Telecom Dispute Settlement and Appellate Tribunal. This adds another really important layer of checks and balances to the whole process.
So what we have here is a brand new framework, a digital-first referee with some serious court-like powers and an appeals process baked in. Which brings us, really, to the big question for the future. Is this new board, with its modern approach, going to be effective enough to truly protect the personal data of over 1 billion Indians in this crazy, complex digital world we all live in? Only time will tell.
And just a quick heads up before we go, this explainer is purely for educational purposes, and of course, it isn't professional legal advice. Data protection laws can and do change, so it's always best to consult a professional for your specific situation. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this helpful, please do like and subscribe.